You will not believe this story. I once went on a date with a guy who managed to insult me, not once, not twice, but repeatedly, all within the first 10 minutes of meeting him. And the worst part? He thought he was being charming. Yes, it's a true story, and trust me, it's a wild ride. So, let me set the scene. I was at my friend Sarah's birthday party. It was one of those classic house parties. Good music, everyone's chatting, the vibe is just right. I was grabbing a drink when this guy, let's call him Mr. X, walks up to me. He was a friend of a friend, and honestly, my first impression was pretty good. He was handsome, had a great smile, and seemed really confident. He introduced himself, and we just clicked. The conversation flowed so easily. We talked about everything, our jobs, what shows we were binging, our shared love for ridiculously spicy food. He told me he was really into outdoor stuff, especially hiking. I absolutely love hiking, he said, his eyes lighting up. My ex and I used to go on these incredible treks. I smiled and said, "Oh, that's awesome, I love a good hike too." And then he dropped the first bomb. He leaned in a little, almost conspiratorially, and said, "Yeah, she was just a natural at it, a total pro." I just kind of blinked and went, "Oh, cool. I mean, what do you even say to that?" In my head I was like, wait, what? Did he just bring up his ex and tell me how great she was? Weird. But I brushed it off. It was a party. Maybe he was nervous. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He was so talkative and engaging otherwise that I figured it was just a strange, one-off comment. He asked for my number before I left, and I thought, why not? Everyone has an awkward moment. So, a few days later, he texted me and asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I agreed, still thinking he was mostly charming and that the party comment was just a fluke. We met at this cute little cafe downtown. The conversation started out great again. He was asking about my work, telling funny stories about his college days. It felt normal, sweet even. He was a great storyteller. But then, it started again. We were talking about music and I mentioned I was a huge fan of this indie band. He nodded and said, "Oh yeah, they're okay. My ex had the most incredible taste in music though. She introduced me to so many obscure bands that were just phenomenal." Okay, alarm bell number 2. I just sat there stirring my latte thinking, all right, this is officially a pattern. Who does that? It's one thing to mention an ex in passing, but it's another to actively use them as a benchmark for how amazing they were. I tried to steer the conversation in a different direction. I asked him about a movie that just came out. His response? "Haven't seen it yet. My ex and I used to go to the movies every single Friday. She always picked the best ones." At this point, I was mentally checking out. I was sending a play-by-play to my group chat under the table. My friend Maya texted back instantly, "Is this guy for real? It's been like a week. He sounds insane." Another friend, Liam, just sent a single text. "Abort mission, I repeat, abort." They were right, but a part of me was almost morbidly curious to see how far he would take this. Our next date was supposed to be a short hike, his suggestion, of course. I should have known better. I met him at the trailhead, and before we even took 10 steps, he started in. "You know," he said, looking at my sneakers, "my ex had these professional hiking boots. She was always so prepared." I just looked at him, completely deadpan, and said, "These are comfortable." The entire hike was like that. He wasn't just mentioning her, he was actively giving me advice on how I could be more like her. "You should try to pick up your pace a bit," he'd say. "My ex could do this entire trail in under an hour." Then he'd critique my water bottle, my posture, even the way I was breathing. I stopped in the middle of the path and turned to him. "Excuse me?" I asked, and I don't think I was hiding my annoyance very well. He seemed genuinely confused, as if he was just giving helpful tips. "I'm just saying," he went on. "She really knew how to push herself. It was inspiring." That was it. My internal monologue was just a loop of red flag emojis and klaxon alarms. I was done. This wasn't just awkward, it was outrageously disrespectful. He wasn't seeing me at all. He was just seeing a ghost of his ex and finding me lacking in comparison. There was no point in continuing this charade. We finished the hike in near silence, at least on my part. He, on the other hand, kept chattering away, completely oblivious. We got back to the parking lot, and I was ready to make my escape. But he had one last gem for me. He turned, smiled that same charming smile from the party, and said, "This was fun, but you know my ex, she just had this incredible stamina. She could have done that loop twice without breaking a sweat." I just stared at him. I didn't say a word. I literally just turned around, got in my car and drove away. I didn't even say goodbye. I blocked his number before I even got to the end of the street. The relief was instantaneous. It was like I had dodged a cannonball, not just a bullet. My phone was blowing up with texts from my friends saying, "Finally!" and "Run, girl, run!" Looking back, the whole thing is just absurdly funny. It's a masterclass in what not to do on a first, second, or any date, really. The lesson learned here is that if someone is showing you who they are, believe them the first time. Some people are just so stuck in their past that they can't see the person right in front of them. And honestly, that's their loss. So, that's my first date disaster story. I know I can't be the only one. What's the wildest thing someone has ever said to you on a first date? Drop your stories in the comments below. I am dying to hear them. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more story times. Thanks for hanging out with me.